The robots are taking over in their own way, but they still need the human touch. Every company needs an accountant. Even you as a digital creator would need, at some point, you need an accountant. It's a profession that won't go extinct. And the barriers of entry are very high. To really progress, you need to be chartered.
Hi everyone, welcome to Wisdom for Exploit. I am your host, Bola Amore. Today I have an important topic to discuss on our talk show, and it's going to be the fourth series of our discussion on etiquette. So our focus today on etiquette will be workplace etiquette in the digital age. And I have a wonderful lady with me. She's a woman of God, and she's a CEO as well, CEO of an housing association, and the founder of Career Nuggets. And she's the person of Reverend Morenike Ajayi. So why is etiquette important to us? Etiquette guides respect and appropriate behavior in different situations, helping us to communicate well, build relationship, and create comfortable atmosphere. It is not about perfection or status, but about knowing how to conduct ourselves in various environments. So my guest, she is an expert in workplace environments, and she's been working in the workplace environment, being an CEO, and she's going to tell us more about herself. But before she tells us more about herself, please do not forget to subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to be notified whenever we upload new video. Over to you, Ma.
Okay.
Can you please tell us more about yourself?
Okay, thank you so much, Pastor Bola, for having me this evening. It's such a privilege. I just wanted to correct something. I'm not actually the CEO of my day job. So I wear two hats. I'm actually the director of corporate services. So I have responsibility for IT, finance, risk, governance, and human resources. So that's my remit. And I work within the social housing arena. And my other hat, which is my passion about supporting members of the Black community to excel in their career. I am the CEO and I'm the founder of Career Nuggets, and it's been running now for 10 years.
Wow.
So that's a little bit about me. Obviously, I have a husband, I'm married, and I have a son as well, David. And really passionate about supporting members of my community as much as I can. And I'm really, really passionate about the things that pertain to the Lord God Almighty. I am an outright Christian, and I showcase the glory of God in the workplace as well as in my day-to-day living. I'm a proud ambassador of Christ.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us this wonderful evening. I'm so delighted to host you. Wow. Anyway, I know you've said quite a little bit, but we still want to know more. So being a woman of God and a chartered accountant, so what inspired you to dive into Career Nuggets?
Okay, thank you for the question. So yes, I trained initially as a computer scientist. That's my first degree. The IT world is so fast. You learn, and I was a programmer. So once you get hold of one program, give it another 2 years, another one is in. So you're forever training and carrying out certifications. So I then, we trained to become a chartered accountant, and everything was going smooth sailing because the body I am a member of, which is called the Chartered Institute of Public Finance Accountants, SIPFA. You can only become a chartered accountant in the route where they put you on a graduate trainee program, and it's very structured. As you start, you're being exposed to different experiences, and by the time you finish the qualification over 3 years, you move into management. Another year or two, senior management. But along the line, I got into management, but I seemed to be stuck in management. And every time I went for an interview, I would be told, "Oh, you're the second best." Never really got it. I was excelling in my appraisal. And I noticed for members of the Black community, a lot of people got stuck at middle management. And I really had an eye to be part of executive management because That's where decisions take place. That's where you can influence the organization. You can really make an impact. You can build others up, climb the ladder. So I was on my journey aspiring for that when something happened in the workplace. For some reason, there was a restructure. I was being made redundant. But before that happened, I was able to get a short stint in another department. But then I had a surgery lined up, and the lady said, I hope this surgery is not going to take more than 1 week. And I said, yes, that's what the doctors told me. And I went for the surgery. And unfortunately, a mistake happened. They didn't detect on time, but ultimately it was they forgot cotton wool in me. I had sepsis. So I was out of work for for 19, longer than that. So I was in hospital for 19 days, but it took me about over 3 months to recover. But during that time, the lady was threatening me that she was going to she needed somebody. This was a short stint. Why did I go on a surgery if I knew I was going to be out for 3 months? And so, out of fear, I discharged myself and rushed back into the office. By the time I got to the office, my abdomen, it was an abdomen surgery. It had oozed out so much fluid that my dress had stuck to my tummy. And by the time I finished the day, almost getting home, I collapsed. And because I was so scared, I eventually got a senior management role, and there was nobody of color at that level in that particular organization. I looked around, I didn't see anybody of color, and there wasn't anything like LinkedIn that you have now where you can see people. And I was lying on my hospital bed, and I thought, how many more people are being threatened? How many more people are struggling and not having support? Because I didn't know where to turn to. And it was on my bed. Eventually, they made me redundant, and I decided to set up Career Nuggets with my redundancy package, which was £75,000. And I started off with this TV show. I just wanted to raise the awareness that where are the Black role models out there? Where are the people we can get to? What can we do to position ourselves, to understand the culture of an environment, to establish ourselves in roles? So that was really the inspiration that I wanted my people to understand a couple of things. Before I got into senior management, I realized that it wasn't all about degrees. There were some soft skills that you needed to have. So I wanted to educate people about that. I also wanted to create a safe space for anybody that's going through any challenge at work, or they needed some direction or support, to just create that career development support hub. So that was what inspired. It was the love for my community. I'd gone through a challenging time, and I thought others might be going through that. What can I put in place? So it was really putting a solution to a problem that I saw 10 years ago.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. That's a good one. That's really a good one. So anyway, I know this is not part of our question. Based on your background and your story now, the BAT Career Nugget. So what will you tell some children now, or let me say young adults that said, okay, degree is not for them? Because now I've seen some people now coming out of A level, and now because when social media, when they say there is money on digital marketing and all those stuff, so they dive into that and they say degree is not for them. So what will you advise them to, those kind of children?
So what I would say, I would agree. Degree is not everything.
Yeah.
There are different routes. You can become an apprentice. They're different. But what I would say is, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And if you're just coming out of A levels, you have only about 16, 18 years of any kind of exposure, maybe 10, which is not enough. So there are a couple of things you need to put in place. You still need to train. From experience, those that train and they get the knowledge about digital content creation and all that really excel. You need to know how you can track your data analytics. How can you analyze the data? What is current out there? What are the trends? So you can either get an apprenticeship that links you with a company where you're doing their digital content and gain the experience. If you don't want to go down that route, then you've got to find a mentor. Somebody that is already excelling in that area, that can show you the ropes, can tell you the do's and the don'ts. You can learn from their mistake. They can enlighten you, because it's becoming a very competitive environment and everybody's into content creation. It looks like it's paying a lot of money, but the reality is only a few are really making, and I mean a really, really few are making a living from this. Content creation is you see any career where the barriers of entries are low, the competition would be really high. So take, for example, when I did my research of becoming an accountant, I did it because every company needs an accountant. Even you as a digital creator would need, at some point, you need an accountant. It's a profession that won't go extinct. And the barriers of entry are very high. To really progress, you need to be chartered. But when it comes to content creation, even a young child of 5, 6 can do it. So you're competing with so many people. So you have to think about how you're going to excel, how you're going to stand out, how you're going to distinguish yourself. Now that's where education comes in. If you go in and just invest, even if it's communication or media studies, in a degree, that's knowledge that somebody that hasn't gone to uni, you will have that and you'll be able to know how to spin it. So even though I said it's not necessary, those that have degrees in and they're intentional about the degree, so they don't just do any degree, they actually flourish because going to university for a degree exposes you not just to the knowledge but to people. You make solid networks, you get knowledge, you get experience, you hear from other people, they give you case studies. The enlightenment is what will make you flourish in that technical digital era. Now, digital era, the more we move on, it's taking over. So I would say even somebody who has gone down the degree route, maybe the traditional degree, they need to be conversant with information technology. They need to be conversant with AI. They need to be because roles now, the last, not just to digress before we talk about that topic, but I want to drop this there. So now, if an employer is taking on anyone, they recruit you to do 1.3% of a job. In the past, it's one full-time employment. So one person, you do one role. Now, they take you on expecting you to do more than what they've employed you to do by 30%. And the reason why they're taking people on as 1.3, even though they're paying you for just one, so they're paying you for the 100%, but you're doing by 130%, is because they believe that you use AI to quicken your tasks. So eventually you will only work like a full-time employee. So AI is becoming key because people are now doing like 1.5 role. You're not just going in there and doing your day job. If you don't know how to use AI, you'll be overworking yourself. You burn out, you'll be stressed. So AI is really key. So digital, the robots are taking over in their own way, but they still need the human touch.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing that. I know, but AI is evil. It's not evil.
It's not evil.
It's not evil. Yeah, thank you so much for that insight. So today we're focusing on workplace etiquette in the digital age. So how will you define workplace etiquette today, especially with so many teams now working remotely or in hybrid environments?
So that's very true. So a lot of people are working either hybrid or working away from home, so they're not necessarily in the office. But that does not neglect the fact that you have to still be professional in what you do. So when we talk about being professional, it means that you need to show up on time. So a lot of meetings will be online.
Yeah.
Many times you'll see people showing up late. That's one. Second, the other one that is a bugbear of mine is when people show up online and they put their cameras off. In the workplace, that means you're not present.
Good.
And that's how it will be interpreted. So there's a work meeting going on and you've got your camera off. Immediately you're telling the other viewers that you're not actually present. You're just there, but you're not willing to participate. And all those things come into play when a promotion is there or somebody wants to give somebody a task that would expose them and give them the opportunity. So when we talk about digital era, you need to show up on time, have your camera on, be polite by making sure whatever meeting you join, you have your mute button on. Because things might be happening on. You don't want to come in with a noise. Immediately put your mute button on, make sure your camera is on, and listen more. When people are talking, don't try and talk over a person. If you have a point, they have features on most of these video video applications where you can raise your hand, signify by raising your hand. Never, it's really bad etiquette to shout across when somebody's talking because you've got the need to really put a message across. Professionalism is important by raising your hand and waiting for the moderator of that meeting to cue you in, and always respect time. So if the meeting is 1 hour, you can't go there and be talking for 15 minutes when there are other people on the call. And so listening and knowing when to respond, read the room, know what to drop, what not to say. So those are the sort of things I will say for now in terms of digital etiquettes.
Wonderful. That's a good one. Well done. So we're going to professionalism relevance. What are the most common etiquette mistake you see employee makes in modern workplace, and why do they matter?
Well, one of the common ones that I see a lot is the tone of the email. So people
No.
are sending email and they've just read something, they respond with no greetings whatsoever. They go straight into the answer. I feel that's rude. There
That's
should be
bad
dear
etiquette.
this, bad etiquette, dear this or hello this. And open with a, oh, I trust this email meets you well, or something before you go straight into what you want to say. And secondly, the tone, the way we, because when we talk, you can read the person's body language, so you can adapt your communication to that person's style. Some emails are too brash or too little or just very nonchalant. So there's a lot of slangs in it. And people would, because they can't ask you, they can't see you, they just might read it and think there's so many acronyms. They might just think this person not really serious, this person be lazy. So people read meaning into whatever you write. So when you write those emails, read it again. Because most of the time emails are so quickly done that people don't read the tone. They don't read over it. Sometimes there are mistakes in those messages,
Wow.
punctuation mistakes, the tone, they just got to get the messaging right. Another thing is about knowing your boundaries, so you don't just know what you can ask on an email. Because a lot of things will be read through that in terms of your reputation, understand the culture, the trust. A lot can be read from those, and make sure you've done your research, you know what you're talking about. Make sure that integrity is key so that that message lands well. Avoid using junk, like acronyms and all these slangs. That's not really nice. And where you need to acknowledge somebody's message, say thank you here or there. Make sure you acknowledge messages, make sure you say thank yous, and make sure you're polite and follow through. So if you send an email to someone and say, I'm going to do this tomorrow, make sure you do it tomorrow. So if you're promising anything on an email, make sure it's something that you will be able to honor, because that's something in writing and that will be held against you.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. But what about some organization whereby there is something they're used to, that, when they send an email, they use slangs, they use all these, abbreviation instead of writing full sentence? Because I'm not the kind of person that really like to use abbreviation when I'm emailing. I like to write everything in full. So I don't know, because I got to know that when we're doing our dissertation in uni. Because when you're using abbreviation, it can reduce your mark, and it can even fail you.
Yes.
The lecturer can fail you. So I got to know that. But some people are used to it in the workplace.
And to be honest, like I said earlier on, it's about understanding the culture. No two organizations are the same. Every organization has a culture.
Cool.
And you need to understand the tone, the messaging, the language they use in that environment, and adapt accordingly. So if it's an acronym based organization, there's nothing wrong with using it, but you need to know who you're addressing. So for example, in finance, we might have some acronyms, but if I'm sending an email to somebody in operations, they might not necessarily understand my finance acronyms, even though we're in the same organization. So in order to avoid that, I would normally write it out in full. Then in brackets, I'll put the acronym, which means after that first introduction, I can continue using the acronym because they've got a sense of what it means. So it's understanding the culture. And no, so one typical one is some organizations would say, be a good team player. So their key language is team player. But some organizations would not use the word team player. They would say collaborate. They both mean the same, but you have to understand the language that that organization is using and use the same. So some people would say be able to have good interpersonal skills and talk with different people across different levels. And some people would use the phrase stakeholder engagement. So you have to know what level you're conversing at and keep that language at that level.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. We're moving on. Practicality. What simple daily habits can professionals adapt to improve their communication and behavior at work?
One of the things I would say is they think before they speak or before they write. Don't just write off the head. Think. What is the message I want to get across to my recipients? How do I want to land that message?
Okay.
And how are they going to read this message? What's the perception they're going to read from that message? So I remember one time I got an email from someone and he wrote the entire email in capital letters.
Oh dear.
And that just got my back against the wall because that means the person is shouting at me.
Yeah.
If you write capital letters all the way through, that's shouting at me. And that really upset me. So I sent an email back and I said, do not type that, but somebody else wouldn't. And that can trigger a reaction. So but the person probably had their cap lock on and they couldn't be bothered to change it. But you have to be bothered. You have to know about what is communication and communicate clearly. If somebody sends you an email, don't sit on that email for 2 days, 3 days before you respond. That is absolutely bad etiquette. You might not have the solution, but you send them an holding email. Thank you for your email. I've received your email. I'm currently going to look into this. It might take me 2-3 days before I come back with you with the solution, but you acknowledge that email. That is so important. So those are some of the things that people can improve on in terms of their habits. And the other thing is saying thank you. I've said that earlier on. Following through on any commitment, which I've mentioned also. And consistency is key. Small habits, just consistently do those right things, and that will build up your credibility. Anybody in a workplace, one of the things people are looking for is how you collaborate with others, how you communicate with others, and your credibility part. Those 3 C's are so important. And credibility comes a lot through the way we engage with people, whether you're talking to them, or whether you're writing an email, or whether you're picking up the phone to speak to people. It tells a lot about your personality, and people need to be cognizant of that. Because people are reading a meaning into how you do things. So let's say there's a Teams meeting, and you're always the one that shows up 1 minute or 2 minutes before the Teams called message. People would read meaning. If you're in my team, I will not be relying on you for anything, even if you have a valid excuse. I would just think this person is so disorganized. They don't prioritize the key things, and I'll be running my own perception of you, even though you might be a diligent and hard worker. But people read meaning into that, because when we talk about the digital age, in terms of communication, it's all those avenues. It's emails, it's phone calls. In person might not be so common, but it still happens. But because people are working remotely and hybrid, it's either a phone call or an email or Teams. And all those channels is how people are looking, and try and get your camera right so it looks like you're looking at the person. If your camera is not positioned well, it might be that you're looking down, and all those things are not really good. So make sure you understand where your camera is and position yourself accordingly. So you look like you're looking at the person straight in their eye. That's a good way of communicating. So those are the habits I will mention for now.
Wow, thank you very much. So as you're just talking, I was just thinking within myself that so it's not about interview only that you have to put your eye on the camera. So it's not about because I'm used to my work colleagues and I don't need to, I can look down, I can drink water. Anyway, water is allowed when you're even at the interview, they give you, say, drink water. So in fact, you have to be looking at collaboration. So there's one question coming to me, Reverend. There are some people in a workplace, whereby they find it difficult to collaborate with other people. So how will you deal with such people, or let me say such colleagues at work? It
depends on what they need to do. Some people like working in silo and the roles are silo. and that's it. But if they're going to impact on what I'm doing, I will
Mm-hmm.
definitely try and work on how I can engage them by
Mm-hmm.
finding out what their interests are, booking meetings with them, trying to schedule some time just to understand their personality. Because sometimes people don't understand how their role is linked to another role or dependent on another role, or they just don't understand that element. So that's it's really trying to engage with them, have a meeting with them, and talk through and understand what their role is, and then share my role and say, look, we need to work on this together. There's a bit of overlap here. Your role will be, your output will be better if I supply this to you, or if you work with me on this, we both jointly have a more suitable output. So it's more about talking to such people.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. So we're going to ethical framing. How can organization encourage ethical behavior like honesty, transparency, and respect when communicating through digital tools? Anyway, I think we mentioned a little bit of that earlier about
Yeah,
email.
yeah, we did. Yes. I mean, I think the first thing for me is setting a clear communication policy. It's so
Mm,
important because if people don't know what is expected of them,
mm,
how do you expect them to deliver? So a communications policy would say all the things I've been talking about: how to engage with people, what to do, what you should do, how when you should respond, how you show up, how you make your mark. So a communication policy would be first. The second would be definitely training staff.
okay.
Invest in your staff to understand digital professionalism. What does it mean? What should they do? And then encourage transparency and accountability. If people are working from home, you must put some structures in place to engage, to know how they're working, they've got the right support they need to do it, how they're doing it, and have a kind of open, oh, I would say an open approach where people can really talk.
Mm,
So even though take during COVID, for example, we would have drop-in sessions whereby every morning you just log in for 10 minutes, the whole team log on, we do a huddle catch up just to understand where everyone's at, and we call it check-in. So people
mm,
check in and you know where they're at. I think, and then also as a leader, you've got to lead by example. From the top, it's got to be from the top. You can't tell people to do certain things and they can't see you modeling that. So
mm.
to really enforce that kind of culture, then you have to lead from the top.
Wow. Wow. So it's from the top, the leader. We're looking at the leader that leads us.
Absolutely.
That's a good
Yes.
one. That's a
Yes.
very good one.
Yeah.
Okay, some people believe that workplace etiquette is outdated. Others say it is essentials. What are yours take on these relevancies today?
I would just say it's no different because etiquette,
Mm,
like you gave the definition earlier on, is
yeah,
simply good character
yeah.
expressed in a professional setting. It's just good character, and that will continue wherever we go. Whether technology may change how we work and change different things, our human values remain the same. Our human values are constant. They're there. And when we talk about etiquette, what we're saying is about
Mm,
respect, conducting yourself in the right manner, understanding the culture of the organization, and then conducting yourself accordingly. So I don't see it being outdated. It's something you need to carry with you. And I'll give you a quick example. I support young graduates. So this year I've taken on like 4 graduates in my workplace, and they come on for like an internship. Some of them 6 months, some longer than that, and we take them in. So I had one guy who came in very knowledgeable. He's a first class product,
mm,
but he was a bit cocky, if I may say,
wow.
because he knew his stuff. Give him something to do, he's done it like that. He was a good worker, and we noted that. On the other hand, we had another gentleman who had a second class lower, who just managed to scrape and get a second class lower, but very respectful, very
Mm,
hardworking, giving it his best. When he comes in, he's literally bowing down to say morning. He's just bringing all those kind of etiquette. And because
culture.
I brought him in and he's from my culture, he didn't
Mm,
say, because the other one, when he came to the workplace, he knows I'm his mom's friend. He calls me Morenike in the workplace, and I can't fault him because everybody's calling Morenike, Morenike. But we have a culture. We have a
Exactly.
culture. And yes, you're there for, but you just say Morenike, you could have said Mrs. Ajay or something.
Mm.
Whereas this second guy, he did not hide it. Auntie, he said. And the first morning he saw me, he literally bowed down, almost touching the floor. And
Oh.
everybody in the office was, because I'm the only black one, and what does that mean? And he said that's the way we greet in the African
Mm.
culture in Nigeria, the Yoruba, the Western side. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. I like that. Even
Mm.
in the British culture, we courtesy, they say, when you meet the queen and
Elderly.
things like that, you don't just stand. You will courtesy, and they really like that. And
Mm.
oh, you calling her auntie? Yes, she's my aunt. Oh, your aunt, your aunt. No, she's not my aunt. But in the culture, if someone's the age of my mom, I just don't call them by name. Oh, really?
Mm.
And he was very respectful to others. Miss this, miss that. And when his internship was going to come to an end, about
Mm.
three people in the office came to me and said, "Can you not create a position for him? We don't
Mm.
really want him to go."
Oh.
I really wanted him to get a job because he had no experience, and if we just let him out, he only had the experience he worked with us. But
Mm.
because he came from other parties, of course I jumped at it and I created a permanent position for him.
Wow.
And not only did we create a permanent position, he's a graduate trainee. We're paying for all his professional exams, and he's gaining the experience. He's on a graduate training scheme, which meant he joined us and he's only worked for us now for 9 months, and he's
Mm.
received two pay rises in that period. That's what etiquette is about. If you operate in the way that is expected, it's very rewarding.
Mm.
When you operate outside the etiquette of a workplace, you're shortchanging yourself. That's what I would say.
That's
So it's not
wonderful.
outdated. It's not outdated. It's still very current, and people are noticing it.
Mm. That's that. You know what? I put on my paper here. I put respect because I was about to ask that question. That
Mm-hmm.
sometimes even people might not have the skills, yeah, but
Yeah.
because they have that good manners, they have that good etiquette. It will help
Yes.
them.
Yes.
It make them goes
Yes.
a long way. And thank you for sharing that example. That's a really good one. So
Mm-hmm.
good etiquette, moral, I think background as well. I would say even background matters a lot because you see some people as well, when they get to workplace, they're so rude. Even the
Yeah.
way they talk to you is like,
Yeah.
excuse me, even though we're in the same workplace, we're not mates,
Yeah. Yeah.
but some people you see that the respect is there.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think it's the
Yes.
background. Background matters a lot. Charity begins
Yeah.
at home.
Yes. He does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So how can employee navigate workplace etiquettes, culturally diverse teams and multinational organization? So where we have a lot of different people from different background, multinational organization. Actually, I went to an interview, Reverend, before you answer this question. I won't
Yeah.
mention organization.
Yeah.
I was the, as soon as I entered, actually, me, I'm a kind of person I like to chat with people. I was chatting with the reception. I didn't even know maybe they were looking at the camera. That she this one that came for interview. As soon as in Central Westminster, as soon as I entered the organization, I said, Bola, I don't think you can work here.
It wasn't welcoming.
No. It was okay, but based on the environment I'm coming from, that environment is like, oh dear me, it's like everybody you're on your own. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's go.
so that's what you just touched on is so important. If anybody, because some people just think of money, but you got to also assess the environment.
It's
You
not about.
can't work everywhere. You
Mm-mm.
can't work everywhere. You got to know which organization aligns with your own values. It's so important. So I like that you're able to assess it and say this is not for me. That's brave of you, because most people would just be desperate and say I want that job, even though it's not a place where you'd thrive. Yeah.
Yeah, so the multinational organization. So how do we navigate in that area?
It works both ways, the organization and the individual. Cultural sensitivity is important.
Mm,
Cultural sensitivity is important. We we need to understand each other's culture. So we mustn't penalize people because of some culture. If you understand the culture, so if we look at the Nigerian environment,
mm,
the way we were raised, we don't necessarily always look people in the eyes
Mm.
as a sign of respect.
Well,
So when
yes.
an adult is speaking, we look at that's us respecting that adult. It doesn't mean we're shy or timid. And unless somebody's been in this environment for so long, when you've been in the UK for so long, then you know that I need to look you in the eye. But if
Mm.
you're just somebody just coming in, you might not necessarily do that, and they shouldn't be penalized in the workplace. So being cultural sensitive to people's culture, their backgrounds. Sometimes somebody might be, for example, a Muslim person, a Muslim lady might not necessarily want to shake hands with a male.
Mm.
Everybody comes with different things pertaining to their culture, and we need to
Mm.
understand that. I used to be an auditor, go to different organizations. Muslim men won't necessarily want to, when I'm shaking everybody at the end of the meeting, they won't shake. That doesn't mean he doesn't like me, and there's
Mm.
no need taking offense. It's just his culture or his religion. So you
Mm.
have to be aware of what is what, and act appropriately. In our
Mm.
culture, we hug people a lot and all that. In some cultures, they don't like the hugging. So you have to understand the room. Then active listening is so important. Listen to what people are saying.
Mm.
You have to listen. Then avoid assumptions. Don't fill in the gaps. If you have any questions about anybody, instead of filling the gap and assuming, oh, that person is this, ask the question. Try and find out. And obviously, what we've been talking about is about respect.
Mm.
That's so key. Yeah, that's what I would say in terms of navigating etiquette in a
National culture.
multicultural environment. Yeah.
Thank you for that insight. I have a question coming in, so I just want to ask it now. What
Okay.
about the issue of food in the organization?
Mm-hmm.
I know that is not. I won't say it's only my organization. I've come across people as well that work in the council and all that. Actually, there is
Yeah.
one auntie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She said that when they go this jollof rice, I'll take it to their workplace. And some people will just run out of the office. And some people normally take it as an offense.
Mm-hmm.
So is that a bad etiquette to bring your food to work? And some people are not comfortable with the smell.
So there are two things around this. So I remember I was in a workplace where we're doing an accommodation restructuring. So we're
Mm.
restructuring the way the layout of the office, and it had 3 levels and a basement. And then somebody made the comment that, oh, the African food smells, so
Mm.
let's put them in the basement. And I said, I find that offensive. I was offended by that because I said, any food you heat up
Mm.
will smell.
True.
If you take broccoli, if you heat it up, it has an awful smell. Egg, heat it up, boil an egg. It smells, anything you add heat to would give off a smell. So I said, I would have said anything warm food, eat in the basement, cold food, eat in other kitchenettes. So I think it's about educating people. So in my office, I like to take sometimes my own food, especially if I've got some leftovers and I just like my food. And it could be fish. And our fish do have a strong smell. So
True.
out of courtesy, I will not eat it in the open office. I will go to a private room. We have private rooms, and I'll have it there. That's me just being conscious of the environment. And I expect somebody else who's bringing anything with the smell, don't just assume that smell is okay for everyone. Excuse yourself, and if not, be mindful of what you bring into the office. In the comfort of your home, you can eat anything, but I don't think it's fair to inflict everybody with the smell of your food, which might not be appropriate for everybody. Having said that, there are some nasty people, and I use the word nasty, who will just pick up anything and criticize, you
Mm.
know, and they
True.
will talk, and that's being nasty. But I'm always mindful of others, and that's part of
Mm.
etiquette, being mindful of others.
So how about people? Yeah, I know you mentioned, Reverend, that if you don't have, I mean, you can eat anything in the comfort of your home. So what about people that don't have like a specific place for them to go and eat? They have to sit down on their decks and eat. So
Mhm.
how do we make that as a good or bad etiquette? Is that going to be a bad etiquette or good etiquette? And they want to eat, they don't want to buy food from outside.
Yeah, just be mindful of what you bring into the office.
Okay.
Jollof rice doesn't smell; it has a pleasant smell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's loads of things you can bring in that it wouldn't be offensive. So There's nothing stopping you from bringing your food in. If everybody's bringing their food in, then you can. Even buying food, you're still going to buy something. So, so you can bring your food in, but just be mindful of what you bring in. And sometimes when I'm about to eat my fish, because I like fish, I'll just say, "Is this okay with everyone?" And I would eat it, you know. And if there's one odd lady there that would always say no, and her voice doesn't mean anything to me, I still go ahead and eat my food anyway. She would always say no. Oh, I don't like those Nigerian fishes and that.
Oh,
But if
wow.
there's a spare room, I will go into the a spare room. But I'm mindful of that. I want to enjoy my food. I don't want somebody breathing down my neck or checking me out, or so I'll look for somewhere to eat. I personally don't think it's healthy for people eating at their desk. Everybody's entitled to taking break. And when they say break, any good organization would allow the staff to take a break. And that break, you should be able to walk away from your desk and really take that break. It's actually healthy for the body. So there must be somewhere that they can go and eat. There must be.
It must be. Wow, thank you for that insight. So I know we mentioned a little bit of email tones and the way sometimes boundaries and the way we reply people. So this question, I don't know if you still have more insight want to give more insight into this digital awareness. So with emails, messaging apps, and virtual meeting dominating our workplace, what digital etiquette rules should professional never ignore?
I think you can't ignore your like we've spoken about it. Be mindful of the message you want to get across and the
Yes.
tone. Avoid unnecessary reply all. You have to be careful. Sometimes an email comes and it's got everybody on the email, but you're only addressing your response to one person. Only reply the one person. Don't do reply all. Respect working hours when you're sending your emails. Keep your camera on, because your digital presence speaks loudly. That's so important.
Okay.
Yeah. And just be sensitive of, your tone and message. That's it.
So when is the best time to send an email? I know I send an email before the no, I send an email maybe 4 a.m. in the morning.
I think that's okay, but you must not expect obviously a
No, I'm not
response.
expecting, but I'm just thinking that I don't want to forget, Maybe I don't want to forget that this email should get in by 9 o'clock and the email is behind. So let me just
Yeah.
send it as early
And
as
that's
that.
okay. And that's okay. And that's okay. So far you manage your own expectation.
Yeah, but the person on the other hand say, I'm not working at 4 a.m. in the morning,
Yeah,
I'm still in
exactly.
bed.
Yeah.
Empathy, because I know I just jumped the other one, we've talked about tones.
Yeah.
How important is empathy in the workplace, and what are the ways employee can practice it in a daily interactions?
I think it helps with having empathy is important because it helps communication, in terms of communication being better. And the way we can help this is just by listening, by checking in with people, checking in with your staff, with your colleagues. How are you? What's going on in your world? How is this? Making sure they're not overwhelmed. I think it's being kind at the end of the day, and just showing a little bit of kindness makes a huge difference in the workplace. When I get into the office, I always make sure I go around all the different staff and just check in with them. How are you this morning? Hello. How was your day yesterday? How was your weekend? I walk around the whole office and just say hello to everyone. By doing that, people are relaxed, and you might get the one person that wants to just moan, no, everything's gone wrong, and I'll let them let it off. I'll just listen. I'm not there as a counselor to give you a solution to your problem, but the fact that they want to air it out means that they're distressing and they can bring their 100% to the workplace. So I always do that, and I think it builds trust. I've had people from other teams, because they don't have a similar trust with their line manager or managers. They'll come in and they'll come to me and say, "Do you have a minute?" And I always try as much as I can to give them that minute. So if they say, "Do you have a minute?" I'll say, if I'm in the middle of something, give me a few minutes, let me finish this piece of work, and I'll be with you. And then I'll go in and I tell them, "You only asked for a minute, I've only got a minute to spare." And they might go, "Oh, I meant 5 minutes." Okay, 5 minutes. So, but I will always listen. And I think that's what empathy is about. But I try and not be emotional in the workplace. So you can come with all sorts of stories and all that. I don't wear my emotional hats.
Mm.
I don't wear emotional hats. So empathy, yes, but not emotionally engaged.
So you say, "Oh, I'm so sorry to see that you're not feeling this way," or you feel like, "Oh no." So you don't do all those ones. Okay, that's good. That's good. So how can employee build positive relationship and foster teamwork in the environment where many colleagues rarely meet face to face?
I think like we talked on that earlier on. If you don't meet
Really?
face to face, I
Mm,
think I spoke about it roughly. Even
yeah.
if you don't meet face to face, you have to be intentional about your communication.
Mm,
So, and the starting point is you need to identify who your stakeholders are.
mm,
Your line manager, your staff, your colleague. You have to identify the key ones and intentionally schedule, even if it's a 10 minutes conversation in their calendar. Put it there
mm,
to catch up on teams. You've got to catch up with them. So managing upwards, for example, with my line manager, she doesn't come into the office very often, but I'll make sure every Monday I have a 10-minute catch up with her on Teams. Hi, this is my line manager is my CEO. And I would definitely say, this is what I'm working on this week. This is what I've
mm,
done last week. And just fill her in so she doesn't feel detached from what I'm doing. Because I've learned over the years that sometimes I just bury my head in the sand and I'm working so hard. My staff know what I'm doing, but my CEO is thinking, what does she do?
wow.
And so it's important that I keep her
Posted.
informed and I keep her, carry her along. These are the things lined up to do. This is what I'm working on. These are that. Sometimes we're not able to have the catch up. I'll make sure that 10 minutes, I'll drop her a mail and say, hi, so this week, bullet point, these are the things I'm working on. Once I've done that, she knows, she's aware of what I'm doing. So I think that is important to build trust and to build credibility in the workplace. I think it's also when there are meetings online, as people
Mm,
are not coming in so often, don't be a quiet listener. Participate in the meetings. Either drop a comment in the chat or raise your hand and say something. But you have to engage. You have to say something. You have to participate and show that you're present. And yeah, and those are the things I would say.
wow, thank you for that. Thank you. So what are the potential consequences of poor workplace etiquette for individual teams and organizational culture? Poor
I, th-
etiquette.
I think poor etiquette, I think, is the opposite of what we've been talking about. Immediately, that's damaged reputation.
Mm,
When somebody is just not polite and not respectful and not conscious of other people's needs and things like that, such people don't have a good reputation. And long time ago, when I used to work in the rail industry, there's a lady, she was an accountant, but she was so technically sound.
mm,
Anything technical, you go to her, she knows it. But she was so brash, so abrupt when she speaks to you, very harsh. Like you're a child, and she's just even you shouldn't speak to children like that. And even
mm,
though she was so technically sound and she knew her things and she'd be going and she'd be pointing her finger and she'd be talking and talking, making you feel small. She's very toxic, condescending manner.
mm,
And the
mm.
earliest opportunity to get rid of her, they got rid of her. And she
Wow.
shouldn't have left that role but because of her just
Etiquette.
lack of etiquettes. Yeah, there
Mm,
was she had already a damaged reputation, and it's one of the things that if a new person joins the organization, they'll mention her name and say, "Be mindful of her." People would say, "Be mindful." That means her reputation has already gone before her. And that's one of the consequences of bad etiquette, poor etiquette in the workplace. I think there's also broken trust. When
mm,
trust is broken, it's so difficult to put it back together. And also, if there's poor workplace etiquette, it creates a toxic work environment.
mm,
Sincerely, it's not a nice place to work in
mm,
if if that's not there. And the final thing I would say is, like I explained when I gave the example of the two young graduates, you'll
mm,
miss opportunities. You'll miss opportunities.
mm,
One brought good etiquette to the workplace. He got an opportunity. Another didn't. So I think it's important that etiquette is not optional. It should be like the foundation. It's so key.
Mm, thank you so much for that. Anyway, I'm just going to ask this question and we round it off for today. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. So is a question about what questions should professionals regularly ask themselves to assess whether they are contributing positively to their workplace environment?
Okay, so I'll put myself in that position. What sort of things would I ask?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll ask myself, am I respectful in my communication? How does my
Mm,
communication come across? I'll definitely ask myself. I'd like to obtain feedback from people to see how they perceive me because I
mm-hmm.
might judge myself differently. So I'll definitely get some feedback about, am I respectful? Do people feel valued when they're around me? Because I
Mm,
feel good etiquette is about, like I said, that lady she made you feel small. She was very condescending. But I want people to be around me and know that I value them.
mm,
So I would definitely want to know that. I would ask myself that and probably ask people. Um, I'd like to also ask, am I adding peace or pressure in the workplace? Do you
mm.
understand?
Yeah.
Am I adding peace or pressure? I feel good etiquette brings peace.
Mm,
Bad etiquette brings pressure. Um, and then I think the final question I probably ask myself is, would people want to work with me?
that's a good one.
Would people want to collaborate with me? When I need help, would they quickly respond and attend to me? When I reach out for anything, will people attend to me? I think that's important because that then means I've built trust, credibility, which are all the byproducts of good etiquette.
Wow. Thank you so much, Reverend. And finally, what one word or two words they want to say to somebody, maybe a CEO of an organization, and we're going to address CEO, we're going to address the employee as well. To what one word do you want to say to them to maintain a good etiquette, not even only for themselves, but to be a good example for others, either they are working remotely, hybrid, or in a face-to-face environment, wherever where they find themselves. I know it's COVID that allow people to start working, majority of people
Maybe
working
from
from home, exactly. So
yeah.
what one will you say to them? And being as a woman of God as well, because sometimes I know you mentioned it, based on what you said, respectful, which I think is linked to humility. Because some people,
Yeah.
when they are up there, they think that, okay, that is the end of the world. I can treat anybody anyhow. I can treat my staff anyhow. So what one word will you give to both the CEO of an organization or the director or the employee? Because some are snob, trust me, some people are snob. What advice or what will you give to them to maintain a good etiquette?
So I'll give the one word and I'll also give my kind of wrap up statement. So I would
Mhm.
say treat people as you want to be treated. It's that consideration, that's the one word. And I would
Mm,
say workplace etiquette is not about rules. It's not rules. It's about values
mm,
and respecting each other's values. When we bring so some values that I hold on to dearly, and I believe we bring these to the workplace, is about integrity. Your
mm,
yes is yes. You show up, you're positive, empathy, and excellence in whatever we do is so important. We don't just succeed professionally when we bring those to the table, but we honor God and positively impact others. So workplace etiquette is so important. So that's what I would say.
Thank you so much to all our viewer. My guest has said it all,
Yeah.
etiquette, you got to respect people. You got
Yes.
to know the
Yes.
way you talk to people, then humility.
Yes.
Don't be sleeping in your pinjam. in your pajamas and say you're walking and you switch off your camera, because a lot of
Yeah.
people, they're in their pajamas. Sometimes I used to just think about myself that, what if I'm in my pajamas and I'm working from home? They say we have an urgent meeting. Yeah, we need to put on our camera. So how will you feel? So, good
Yeah.
etiquette is the key. And we need to respect people, treat people the way you want others to treat you. So thank you
Correct.
so much, Reverend Morenike. Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
honoring this call. I'm so grateful.
You're
And that is
welcome.
now from us, our viewer and our audience. And bye for now.
Bye for now, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend.